This is Real Nollywood. You're welcome to Real Nollywood. You're welcome to Real Nollywood.
It is possible for anything that has to do with fine film production to be done, especially when it has to do with scoring of music. And today we're going to be seeing all of that on Real Nollywood. Well, it's your one-stop movie program on TV, and my name is Colin Stoker. And what we do here, we explore the motion picture industry in Nigeria and the diaspora, presenting to you what is happening in the industry of recent on our interesting segments like True Nollywood Story, Knowledge is Just Gisting, Making of Blockbuster Films, and the current events that is ongoing in the industry. Alright, starting up first for us here, it's a beautiful piece that just debuted the year 2014. It's seeing a whole wonderful piece of artwork coming from the motion picture industry in Nigeria, and this one is none other coming from Steve Gukas, and he calls this one A Place in the Star. It had its industry announcement recently at the Freedom Park Square, and I was there to bring all the sights and sound for you. More importantly, pay attention to the scoring of original soundtrack for a film in Nollywood. It's not the usual, but Steve Gukas is doing this.
It's taken 4 years for us to do this. It's taken a lot of sweat. It's taken a lot of pain, anger. We've had to do anger management. It's taken a lot of fights. And finally, we got all the ingredients right. And dinner is served. And on behalf of Natives Production and the director of the movie, The Place in the Stars, Steve Gukas, who you'll be talking to much later, and I say a big welcome to the industry announcement of A Place in the Stars. Have a wonderful evening.
One is good, honest, and unselfish in all their dealings. They are given a place in the stars, and they go on to be a guiding light to all of us on earth, so that we do not err from the path of goodness.
We all believe that change is not something that is required of us, but of other people. That other people need to change before we did. But if we waited for someone else to change before we did, then change might never come. So that, at the core of that is something that I think we all need to address as a people. Not to talk of the fact that it deals with the subject matter of swimming against the tide, swimming upstream when everybody else is going downstream, because to do the sort of things that the character has to do in the end of the movie requires that you sacrifice self for the general good, and that is not something that's common. So that goes against grain as well. And like you know, the movie itself, the story of the movie was inspired by my encounter with Dora Akunyili, who again was another character that swam against the tide. And for me, she's the epitome of what the true Nigerian should be.
I'm not the one to grow a conscience over it.
You don't know
Who you are playing with, huh?
Oh, of course I do.
You're a crook and a murderer.
You're nothing but a cheap blackmailer. But I promise you one thing.
Oh, it's your regular, everyday Nigerian. This film is a story on conscientiousness. To bring it down close to home, a good name over a bad name. You know, so he's a young lawyer who does his thing by the day, and then he racketeers deals for guys who peddle fake drugs. Right? It's a story. The subliminal story about it is the peddling of fake drugs and the effect in our society.
we shot over a period of 4 years.
4 good
Yep.
years.
And when we finished, went to England and US to do the editing, the grading, and then the soundtrack was done in Budapest.
Music for me is a very strong part of any film. I wanted to create very strong images, but also create music that's as strong as the images of the film itself, and music that was memorable. But beyond that, music that would actually underscore the emotions and the narrative that is the film that's
got some very, very talented musicians, you know, in Nigeria, and I think if we can create a combination of all these musicians to create amazing soundtracks and amazing score for movies, you know, and it would be great. And, you know, and it just underpins the statement that, you know, anybody can really take, an African film doesn't have to have a stereotypical soundtrack that you're used to, you know, yeah, there can be, you can have a Western troupe or an Asian troupe or whatever underscore any film, African film, whatever, you know, as long as the vision is right and the director loves it, then it works, and I think that's exciting.
Yeah, well, Steve is one of those people that try to make sure they get it right. You know, he takes his time. I mean, like I told him this evening, for a while, it was almost like everywhere I go outside this country, like I get there and it's like Steve Kukas was here. He's quite active even outside the country. And yeah, people say a lot of really good things about his work and so on.
You know, Steve is a great filmmaker. Steve started out in, as we know him internationally, on the movie Namibia, which was a major blockbuster that was shot in Namibia, South Africa. And he has decided he wants to do a great Nollywood film. I'm looking forward to it. I saw the music score. I knew that it was scored outside this country. It was a huge score. I'm sure it's going to look fantastic.
Any movie is incomplete without a great soundtrack. Because the truth is, part of the reason why our films have lagged behind is the absence of a compelling score. And so if you wanted to do a movie that was Nigerian and yet international, you had to get that compelling score going. So which is why I went out of my way to get a score that was both elaborate and big enough to carry the scope of the film that we had put so much effort into producing.
You disappoint me. Money isn't worth much.
I expect a Wareham film. I mean, when he told me that he was coming out with the work, I was excited because this is a man who doesn't work all the time, and so you expect that he will have this will take him so much time to put together. And because he's a trained filmmaker, he studied filmmaking, he knows the art and theory and practice of filmmaking. I'm expecting nothing but the best from this. I'm looking forward to seeing a film with so much attention paid to details, so much in terms of directorial, approach, so much in terms of making the actors live the role, and all that. I'm looking forward to a very tight script.
Take my share, and I'm going to take it, even at the risk of your own life.
Ima.
Young man and a poor old man.
Alright, welcome back. On True Nollywood Story today, we're going to be seeing someone who has participated so much and contributed her own quota in the growth of the motion picture industry in Nigeria. Her name is JULIET UZOMA AGUWA, and I want to say she is the founder of Courage to Dare Foundation, and I want to say her experiences in life made her to form this foundation, and she's doing great things doing film and stage productions that has to do with enlightening women on the deadly disease, cancer. Well, let's hear from Juliet. There's a whole lot she has to say about this.
We kept searching for a time and a season when we will have enough resources and the wherewithal in order to do a film, until the opportunity came in 1992.
Surge of wonderful African films from all over the continent.
It's amazing to come all the way to Nigeria to participate in something where the arts are being elevated.
When I talk about acting to my students, I tell them that acting is 20% talent, which is the gift that God gives you.
A lot of them wanted Ramsey to play the role I played, which is Shola. It was going to be a stereotype, because putting Ramsey in that role, it would just be the normal Ramsey that everybody knows. I decided to change it and, play on people's intelligence.
Today on True Nollywood Story is theatre arts graduate from the University of Port Harcourt, medical case manager and a health administrator, Juliet UZOMA AGUWA. She hails from Imo State, grew up in the North Niger State to be precise. And since 1996, when she moved to the United States of America, she has lived as a citizen in Wisconsin. She shared her journey into the arts with us.
Well, as a theatre arts graduate, I started off at NTA Lagos. That's where I started my IT, and from there I moved on to different movies at General Hospital and Talk Show, Twist Away, and a few other movies that I did here in Nigeria before I traveled to the States.
While in the States, Juliet delved into other professions. According to her, she got interested in the health industry.
While in the States, I started, I was in school at the same time, also did part-time modeling with Norman Pythons and a few modeling agencies, Model Search America. Then from there, I got married and started working into the health industry. I kind of moved from acting to health, and it's just moved on from there.
Today, Juliet UZOMA AGUWA is the founder of Courage to Dare Foundation, which she started after she was diagnosed of breast cancer, stage 3.
Well, I started my foundation right after I was diagnosed with stage 3C breast cancer. I was diagnosed back in 2008. At the time, it was an aggressive, it was an aggressive treatment that I had to go through because of the kind of cancer that I had. So right after my diagnosis and being a survivor, I decided to start an organization that not only would help my African women in Africa, but also in the United States. So while starting the organization in 2009, we decided to go into the community to empower and educate our women, because just based on my experience, not, having the knowledge and the awareness of what cancer is, I had no idea, So after being diagnosed, I figured that this is something that I need to bring back home. And bringing it back home, I started with the African women back in the States, and from there started traveling around Africa as a continent, met a lot of wonderful women who the organization, when I travel with a few doctors and medical professionals that would help bring that enlightenment, empower women, and kind of let us understand that cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence once it's detected early. So, there's just a whole lot. There's so many resources that we bring along with us, because there's so much to learn. Like they say, education is power.
She spoke on the objectives, vision of Courage to Dare Foundation.
Well, my organization, which is Courage to Dare, organization has partnered with a few organizations in the United States, like Susan G. Komen, American Cancer Society, and a few other ones, Nurses Affecting Change. When we do awareness in the community, we all come together as one voice to kind of get the messages out. So the organization has really worked in collaboration with other organizations.
Her experience and the experiences of great women all over Africa will give birth to a stage production and eventually a movie titled One Quiet Voice Above the Silence, to be directed by Lancelot Odua Imansue and Cash Nwachukwu, and to be staged come October 11th at the Stafford Center, Texas.
Well, what happened is the movie we have, the movie that is coming out, One Voice, is a story that actually was inspired by so many wonderful, great women that I personally have come in contact with during the journey of Courage to Dare, traveling in and out and doing our researches. I met a lot of great, wonderful ladies, women, mothers, some of which are no longer here with us, but they had the courage to share their story and they wanted their voices heard. So for me as an individual and also as a cancer survivor, I figured that this story is something, because these women are no longer here, their voices cannot be forgotten and their stories need to be shared so that the world can understand how Africans undergo cancer. I'm Juliet AGUWA, a founder of Courage to Dare, and this is Real Nollywood.